Good morning. Namaste. This is Dr. Uma Kiruvedi, Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences, Jayoti Vidyapith Women's University, Jaipur. Uh, as you know, I'll be taking the course on metabolism and bioenergetics this semester. And in the previous session, we have looked into the lysis of glycogen, the glycogenolysis, and the different ways in which it is being regulated. Like we had looked into its allosteric regulators, active form and inactive form, and also we had looked at the regulation of glycogenolysis by calcium ions, hormonal regulation, and we had told that glycogenolysis occurs when the stress hormones, epinephrine activates it in muscle cells, and glucagon activates it in liver cells, and whereas insulin can inhibit the glycogenolysis process, and all these are G protein coupled receptors. So that is what we had covered in the previous session. Now, in this session, we will be looking into the formation of glycogen. That is when the body has got excess glucose, the cells have got excess glucose, glycogen will be synthesized in the body. So in the muscle cells and all, glycogen is stored as granules. So for the glycogen synthesis to happen, like if we were looking into the regulation of that, that will happen when there is excess glucose. So insulin is an activator for this, and glucagon and epinephrine are inhibitors of glycogen synthesis, or as the term for it goes, glycogenesis. So the how glycogen is formed, that is the meaning of the word glycogenesis. So glycogenesis is the process that we will be looking into today. So I would like to recap what glycogen is. Glycogen is the branched polymer of glucose residue, and it can have up to 1,20,000 glucose residues or glucose units in them, and it is present in the cytosol of animal cells in the form of granules ranging from 10 to 40 nanometers. So it's like quite big granules only, and 40 nanometers means they are significant, they are visible under and the two major sites of glycogen storage are the liver and the skeletal muscle. So the core of the glycogen particle is a protein called glycogen. Now this glycogen is something that is very important in the glycogen synthesis process. So we will be looking into this glycogen in detail. So as I had told, glycogen consists of units of glucose linked in alpha 1,4 with branches of alpha 1,6 glycosidic bondages approximately every 8 to 12 residues. Now, if we were to define glycogenesis, that is the formation of glycogen which occurs in the tissue of the body, but it happens in very large amounts in the liver and muscles, and small amount of glycogen synthesis and storage happens in the central nervous system, but like it's very negligible amount. So that is why the central nervous system and the brain is completely dependent on blood glucose as the source of energy. So as I had told in the previous session, the glycogen synthesis is the opposite of glycogenolysis. So if blood sugar levels are low, then the glycogenolysis happens, because otherwise hypoglycemia occurs. And when hypoglycemia occurs, the body could go into a coma because the brain cannot work. So this is the reason that glycogen synthesis happens in very negligible amounts in the brain. And so this glycogenolysis has to happen again in the liver cells for it to be supplied to the blood. For muscle cells, glycogenolysis happens only when muscles have some work to do for itself, like if there is any exertion happening in the muscles, then and only then glycogenolysis happens in the muscle cells. So if we are coming into the glycogen synthesis part, so there are the different steps of glycogen synthesis. I will share it with you. So yeah, so the glycogen synthesis to occur, there has to be a UDP glucose moiety, and only to this UDP glucose moiety at the non-reducing end of the glycogen can be added to the non-reducing end of a glycogen chain with N residues when N is greater than 4. So what happens for the beginning of the glycogen synthase and synthesis? So this process, once this primer, the glycogen synthesis primer of at least 4 units have been found, then glycogen synthase enzyme works on it in order to elongate the chain, but it will give a new non-reducing end. But what happens when the for the initial glycogen molecule, like when N is less than 4, what happens initially? So initially what happens is there will be one glucose 1-phosphate molecule that will be taken. So again, in the glycogenolysis, we had told that glucose 1-phosphate is released, and that glucose 1-phosphate would then be converted by phosphoglucomutase to form glucose 6-phosphate. Now in glycogen synthesis, what happens is glucose 6-phosphate is isomerized or by phosphoglucomutase to form glucose 1-phosphate. So that is a reversible process that is happening by that enzyme. So that enzyme can catalyze both the forward and the reverse reactions. And once that is happening, the glucose 1-phosphate will be formed. And once the glucose 1-phosphate is formed, then that will combine with the UTP. So UTP is uridine triphosphate, like now ATP is adenine triphosphate, no? So in that adenine nucleotide triphosphate, so in the same way, this is uridine triphosphate. So UTP is the energy source for this. Like there are all these nucleotide triphosphates in the cell. So GTP is linked mostly with the G protein coupled receptors, and ATP is the cellular energy source. So UTP is what is important for the glycogen synthesis process. So this will combine, and the enzyme that is responsible for that is UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase. So this is actually a reversible process, and it could become like the UDP glucose could become glucose 1-phosphate and UTP as well. But what happens is that is not allowed to happen, because there is another enzyme that is there in the link, that is the inorganic pyrophosphatase. So this inorganic pyrophosphatase actually hydrolyzes the PPI that is released to form two inorganic phosphates. And because of this, what happens is this reaction, the conversion by the inorganic pyrophosphatase, the PPI getting converted to PI, that is actually irreversible. And then in order to get the PPI back, you have to spend energy on that. So that doesn't happen. And so the UDP glucose moiety is formed. Now, what happens is that glycogen synthesis needs this primer, and glycogenin acts as the flooring to which these glucose molecules from the UDP glucose are added. Like, let's say we are building a house, so we will build a base, and over that the bricks will be added. You cannot simply start putting the bricks on the ground itself and start, no. So in a similar fashion, this glycogenin will come in, and upon the glycogenin, this different glucose moieties will be added. The glucose UDP moieties will be added, and in that process, the UDP will be removed, and only the glucose will be added to the glycogen. And once that happens, this UDP glucose moiety will then, like, once it is at least 4 glucose moieties in length, then it will start building up by the enzyme glycogen synthase. And once glycogen synthase starts adding, glycogen synthase will add the alpha 1,4 glucose residues. Like alpha 1,4 chains will be added by the glycogen synthase, and after that the branching is actually added by another enzyme, the alpha 1,6 glucose. So I'll show you the how glycogenin is adding the UDP glucose moieties to it. So glycogenin actually has got a tyrosine residue at its 194 position. It's a protein, and then it will keep on. So this enzyme, so glycogenin is the base, and the glucosyl transferase activity of glycogenin. So glycogenin has got intrinsic enzyme activity of the glucose transferring, and once that happens, it can remove the UDP and add the glucose moiety to it. So that happens, and the chain starts extending up to like around 7 bases, 4 to 7 bases, and that is when glycogen synthase takes up that role. So once glycogen synthase starts working on it, then it will keep on adding glucose moieties to this in an alpha 1,4 linkage. And glycogen synthase is activated by high amounts of glucose 6-phosphate and insulin, and it is inhibited by glucagon and epinephrine in muscle cells. So now you know that glycogen has got is a branched polymer. So you have the glycogen core, that is the glycogenin, and then we have the alpha 1,4 chain. So then it has to be branched, and the alpha 1,6 linkages have to form. So that is done by the glycogen branching enzyme. So this glycogen branching enzyme is actually coded by the gene GB1, and that is also very important in the glycogen synthesis. So now if we were to look at the glycogen structure. So this G is the glycogenin, and this is the primer that was formed by the glycogenin. And from there, various branching happens, and these ends, all these ends are the non-reducing ends of the glycogen. And this is the core primer. And from there, there will be like different branches happening. And that is how glycogen molecule will look like. So that is the sum total of glycogen synthesis process. And once this glycogenesis happens, so the like the branching is there, and there will be the alpha 1,4 and the alpha 1,6 transglucosidase enzymes will all these will bring about the branching. And then this, why has this branching to happen, like why do this branching have to happen? That is because this actually increases the solubility of glycogen and makes it more compact, and increases the velocity of glycogen synthesis and breakdown as well. Because if there are branches, so this glycogen during the glycogenolysis process, when the glycogen phosphorylase can actually cleave on multiple branches, and thereby more amount of glucose 1-phosphate will be available at the same time. And then after that only we need to remove that one glucose moiety to remove the branching. And so that means that more amount of glucose will be available per unit time, as long as there is good amount of the glycogen phosphorylase enzyme that is present over there. So that is one of the importance of glycogen branching. Now, there is a genetic disorder called Anderson disease, in which the branching enzyme is defective. And then what happens is the glycogen is linear and insoluble, and it accumulates in the cells, causing liver and muscle damage. So that is also like, so branching enzyme is also very important. Branching has to happen for the glycogen to form proper granules that can be soluble in the cytoplasm. And the regulation of glycogenesis is through the availability of the substrate. Only when glucose 6-phosphate is available, only then it will be converted into glycogen. And as I said earlier, glucagon and epinephrine, they are diabetogenic. So they increase the blood glucose level. So they do not promote glycogen synthesis. Whereas insulin, which is anti-diabetic, tries to reduce the blood glucose level. So it stimulates glycogen synthesis. It activates glycogen synthesis. And then there are a lot of protein kinases, dephosphorylations, and the concentration of CAMP is also, like, if the CAMP is actually an inhibitor of glycogen synthesis, because CAMP is a stress indicator, as in like when the cells are starving. And under such circumstances, glycogen formation is not promoted, it is inhibited. So that is the regulation of glycogen synthesis. So that will be all for glycogen synthesis and its regulation. That will be all for this session. Thank you. Have a good day.